Second. All right, cool. I think we're live now. Hopefully we are. All right, welcome to today's Q&A, guys. Today is not February. I need a Red Bull. Hold on. Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd. Welcome to our Q&A for this week. My name's Alex Jermillo. I own House of Shades Barbershop. We have two locations in Jacksonville, Florida, and we do millions of dollars in revenue. And I do these calls for free to help you guys out. So if you're joining now for the first time, welcome. I have a free community on a platform called School just for barbers and barbershop owners. If you're curious on some information on that, just comment the word guide during this live or DM me the word guide or comment on any of my Instagram posts the word guide, and my ManyChat automation fancy thing will send you a free guide on how to make more money as a barber. And it'll also invite you to join my group, which is free. I do have another group that's not free, that's just for barbershop owners, but you don't need to worry about that if you're just a barber. I try to keep these calls focused, these free calls focused on how to help you guys as barbers. But today, well, you guys will benefit from today's call, even if you're just a barber, I think, but it's definitely going to be catered more towards barber shop owners today because I get asked a lot about the software that I use, which is I actually think a really overlooked aspect of running a barber shop is the software that you use. A lot of people think that it's the haircuts or whatever, the marketing. Yeah, those things definitely help. But if you don't know how you're doing as a barbershop owner, it's hard to know how to also improve on that. So I'm actually going to be sharing my screen during this live today. I did something similar last week where I actually did basically a live YouTube video recording. So you guys could actually watch me live make a YouTube video. And then, but unlike a YouTube video, we can actually make this interactive where if you have questions that come up in your mind while I'm recording a YouTube video, I will actually stay around after I finish recording and answer some of those questions at the end. So you guys can watch me make a YouTube video today specifically about the software that I use, why I use it, and if you have questions at the end, I'll go back through and answer it. Last week I did this for the first time, and there was some really good feedback from it, at least from the watch hours perspective, because when it comes to content, people, it's free, right? This is free. I'm doing this call for free. So people pay with their attention, with their time, right? Now, when it comes to education, or in your case as a barber, what the services you provide, people are paying with money, right? So, the last call that we did, the watch time was actually really high. So that told me that you guys like this. So even without directly telling me, I can tell what the things that you guys like more than others, and that's how I'm trying to continually get better for you. When it comes to the barbershop, the way to know whether somebody's actually happy with you as a barber is if they continue to come back and pay you, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but we've had clients come to us for years that have never wrote a review on Google. They never will, but they continue to come back and pay us, which I think is the more important thing, right? If you think about it. So I'm getting ready to share my screen here and do our live YouTube video recording. Let me just pin a comment right here for anybody that joins throughout the call. One second. Joining on YouTube. J the Barber to see my full screen. U and A B the end. All right. So I'm gonna add this here. Great. So anybody that joins while I'm recording, hopefully you'll see this message. I will answer some questions at the end. If there's no questions, then we'll end it. We'll end it early today. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. There we go. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to be sharing these two Google Docs today. Mm, It's a little too big. All right. So if you guys can't see my full screen, it's probably because you're watching this on Instagram or Facebook. Hop on over to my YouTube channel. The link's in my bio, and you'll be able to follow along and see my full screen. All right. So let's get started. All right. So I get asked all the time about the software that I use to run my barbershop because we're able to do a lot of advanced things such as loyalty program, memberships, automated marketing with Google reviews and everything. So what I wanted to do in this video today is to kind of answer this question for you. What I think, at least the process that I went through when it came to choosing a software for my barbershop, and then like the process that I went through and ultimately what I ended up going through and why, right? So this is actually a document that I made way back in 2021. As you can see, if I go to the history here, January of 2021 was when this document was created, right? Because I wanted to have a software that aligned with the needs of my business, which is ultimately, I think, the way that you should choose a software, right? I'm going to go through the process that I went through, but my goals might be different than yours. So you really, the important thing is to make sure that you choose a software that aligns with your goals. Now, at the time, well, I'll take you through kind of the journey first before I get into this of why I actually ended up starting to look into software in the first place, right? So I'm going to let you guys see me again. So I actually when I started my barbershop, I actually took over from the previous owners. What's up, David? And they were using some thing called Leprechaun or something like that. And that software was looks like it was built in the 80s. It probably was, right? So we actually went without a software for a little while, and then ultimately, I think started using Vagaro. And Vagaro is actually a really good software. Even to this day, I still think it's one of the better ones out there. But there were some issues that I had with Pagaro at the time, and ultimately the idea was we needed something, I just wanted to get something up and running. Right? I didn't care so much about accuracy back in the day because all I cared about was I wanted to be able to accept money, accept payments. Okay. And so we ended up going with probably the simplest software in the world to use, which is Square. So the reason why I like Square is because if you don't care about tracking things, if you don't care about really anything, just want to be able to process money, Square is probably the easiest, best thing out there right now. So we actually used Square for like 3 or 4 years before we ended up switching we actually switched a few different times and then we ended up on what we currently use, which I'll get into. But the reason I wanted to switch away from Square in the first place was because I think every business goes through this evolution, right? At least I did, where in the beginning, I just wanted to get up and running. But after a few years in business, I started to realize like I I don't know a lot about like how my business is actually doing, right? So I think the software that you use is kind of like the gauges in your car, right? So if you didn't have those gauges, it's kind of hard to know how your car is actually doing. Like, do you have gas? I don't know. What does the gauge say? Is your car overheating? I don't know. Right? How fast are you going? Like, so there, just like cars have gauges, I think we need to have gauges in our business. And if you don't have the right software to be able to do these things, well, it's going to be hard to know how your business is doing, and more importantly, what to do to fix it, right? If there is something wrong. So I started to realize once I got past the point of just wanting to be able to accept money, that there's other ways that we could grow the business. And I started looking, I realized that we were starting to run into some of the limitations of the software of Square, right? Square is a multi-billion dollar company, but it's really, at least when I was using it, it wasn't purpose built for what we do, right? So I started looking at different softwares that can actually help me understand how my business is doing. And I tried a few. I think we went back to Vagaro again for a little while. We went with Squire for a little while. ultimately they were all terrible, at least at the time, right? So I ended up going back to Square, and then I started to make this list. So I'm going to share my screen again so you guys can see kind of the thought process I was going through. So and I realized that there's actually a big cost of switching, right? And the cost isn't necessarily money. It is that the effort that is behind it, right? So not only do you, as the owner of a barbershop, need to know how to learn this new software, and you probably need to learn it better than anyone else. The barbers have to learn how to use it, and then the clients have to learn how to use the software because they're the ones that are booking it, right? They're booking appointments, right? If you have online booking. So what I did, which is I actually did this process when I went to go buy my house, was I came up with like a wish list of like these are all the things that I want in my software. And I started to come up with these things first, like before I started looking because I wanted to find a software that met my needs. And I didn't want to like my needs to fit within the software. So I highly recommend you do this before you start looking. And I share this inside my barbershop owner community. But there, you can just start writing down a list of everything you want in your software, and then you find a software that meets that, not the other way around, right? Because that's how you end up, basically getting sold on software that isn't right for you, right? Because there's a lot of softwares out there that are great, but there's sometimes it comes down to one or two features that are like deal killers. So I came up with this list of all the things that I want in my software. And then once I felt like this list was pretty complete, then I started looking, right? And I did the same thing when I went to go buy my house. I had like this is a must have, this is a nice to have, this is like a nice not to have, and then there was like a deal killers, essentially. Like if it doesn't have this, or in the case of a house, if it has this, move on, right? So it takes some of the emotion out of the process, especially if you're buying a house. Um, if you have a list like this that you can just say, like, check the box, like it has this, it has this. So once this list started getting long, as you can see, if you're looking at my screen on YouTube right now, um, it starts to eliminate basically almost every software out there, with the exception of a few. And those are the few that I ended up looking at. But these, I'm scrolling slowly so you guys can see, and you can pause the video and take a look at it later if you watch the recording. But these are some of the things that I absolutely, these are all really like required. Otherwise, I'm not even going to consider the software, right? Um, and yeah, so this is everything. Like, there's a lot more. I didn't realize that the list got this long, right? But as you start to pay attention to the things that in your business, and hopefully this video helps you if you're just getting started, because I didn't even know these things when I was I didn't even know that you should be able to track, for example, marketing, right? Like have an automated referral system. I didn't even think about that in the beginning, right? I was just trying to keep the doors open. I didn't think about tracking rebooking, pre-booking. I didn't think about tracking retention because like I just, all I knew was that clients were coming in the door and getting their haircut, but I didn't really understand how important it was. And if that's the one thing you get from this video, is that these things are non-negotiable. You have to be able to know how you're retaining clients. You have to be able to know your rebooking. You have to know your productivity, your average ticket, your sales per hour. These things you're not going to be able to know how your business is really doing unless you have an idea what these numbers. And that's the thing, I probably lost half of you by now, because some of you guys just feel like haircuts are the most important thing. But if you're trying to run a business, then you need to know how your business is doing. And these are kind of the gauges that tell you how your business is doing and where you can improve, or it's just, you know, backing up that you're doing a good job, right? But either way, if you don't track your numbers, then you're maybe not doing as good as you think you could. So I ultimately ended up looking into these systems here, right, at the bottom. And I'm probably gonna have to cut this out later. Somebody's going to send me a cease and desist or some shit. But so these are the systems that I ended up and this was back in 2021. So to be fair to if there's a software on this list, um, it was. in 2021, when I was going through this process, at the time, none of these things met all of these requirements, right? Some of them met a lot of them, but I was looking for one that was going to meet all of them. So these were immediately rejected right off the bat, the ones on this list, right? I don't want to say them out loud, but you can read them if you pause the video here. But these are the ones at the bottom that I put them in this promising category, right? So Vagaro, I think is a great software. Zenati, Mevo 2, and then MindBody. And of course, there's probably more that I didn't get to at the time or that were started after I went through this process. But I talked to all of them, right? I talked to everybody on this list. I've had meetings with them, and I ended up narrowing it down to Mevo 2 and Zenoti. And then when I just started comparing them side by side, and I ended up going with Zenati, right? And that's what so since 2021, we've been using Zenati. And I don't really see me going anywhere else. I mean, if something bet much, like, I mean, it has to be significantly better than Zenati, but I mean, that would be hard, to be honest. I'm going to get into the next part of this video why I like Zenati, and I'm not getting paid to promote them, by the way. I don't have any sort of affiliate link. Like, this is what I use, right? And everything that I talk about, I don't get paid to promote it, right? I just you can go on there and see like this is if you go to book an appointment at my shop, like you could see like that's the software we're using, and I don't get paid to promote them. I just a lot of people ask me about it, so I'm really making this video so I could just like here watch this video and you'll see the exact process that I went through and why I chose Zenati. So I use Zenati, but I think Vagaro is a great one. Mevo too. Really, everybody on this list, even the ones in this rejected category, I think are all great. It's just when it came to the needs of my business and what I wanted to track and the way I want to run and grow my business, I went ended up going with Zenati because I think it's important when you're choosing a software too, not to just think about does this meet the needs of my business today? I think it also is important to consider is this going to meet the needs of my business as it looks 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And that was another big selling point for Zenati because I noticed that a lot of the big players in our industry are using Zenati. A lot of the big barbershop franchises and corporate stores and even like Great Clips uses Zenati, right? So I noticed that and I was like, well, I want to be like them, so I want to use the same tools that they're using. So the one thing I will say about Zenati is I don't think that they are for like individual barbers. So you're probably not going to benefit from using Zenati if you were just like a single chair like operator like in a suite or you do booth rent. For that I would probably look into Vagaro. I think they're better suited for individuals, and Vagaro can actually I think do a lot of the same things as Zenati can, right? But Zenati is definitely more built for franchises and for barbershops that have multiple employees, preferably even multiple locations, right? So we barely met that criteria when we started the conversations with Zenati because we had just opened two, the second one, right? So we barely qualified. But I'm really happy with Zenati, and now I'm going to get into like why I chose Zenati. And if you guys have questions about what I'm talking about, I'm going to do the Q&A at the end, okay? So this is the kind of the list that I made because a lot of people ask, and again, I'm just making this video so I can just be like, just watch this video and you'll understand like why I like Zenati. And again, I'm not getting paid to promote them. They don't even know I'm making this video. I don't get any sort of affiliate. If you guys want to use Zenati and tell them that I sent you, maybe they'll send me like a Starbucks gift card, but I don't get paid to do this. They don't know that I'm making this video. I just really like Zenati. And a lot of people ask me about the software I use. So this is why I'm making this video. It's really to make my life easier, right? It's not in any particular order, but I'm going to go through this list of the top things that I like about Zenati because I want you guys to understand, like, in addition to all of the things that were on this list here, which were just basically the minimum criteria, there was actually things on top that I ended up, this is what sold me. And some of these things I didn't really get into, I didn't even learn was something that was part of Zenati until I actually started using it, and or some of these things came later. Some of these are relatively new features. So I'm going to try to go through this quickly because I don't want to bore you guys, but I just want you to take this video and use it as a tool to be able to understand if the software that you're considering, whether it's Zenati or not, has all the tools that you need. Because this is the process that I went through, right? So the first thing on here, and again, this isn't in any particular order. I just kind of put them on here as I thought about it. But I love that Zenoti has a built-in referral program. So when somebody books an appointment in Zenoti, they actually automatically get a referral code, and we just set up the rules, and the rules are basically if they refer a new client to us, then they get $10 off for referring the person, and the person that they referred gets $10 off as well on their first visit. And this is all automated. So that's the cool thing. This is we don't have to actually manually track anything, right? Back in the day, we used to do the business, just give somebody a business card and they would write their name on it, referred by, and we actually still do that. But everybody right now has a promo code that when they book an appointment, if somebody has a promo code that they create their profile with, it automatically gets attributed to that person that referred them. So it's all automated. So that is something that was not expecting. There was a really nice benefit. We wanted a referral program, but it just kind of exceeded our expectations in terms of it being all automated. So that was really nice. This is probably one of my favorite features on this list, if you can see here. You guys may not understand this until later on. But we have the ability in Zenoti to actually create target segments. So what that means is, I think the most powerful asset that you can build as a barbershop owner is your email list, because I'd rather take emails over followers because I can't reach out to my followers on a regular basis, like consistently according to certain criteria, but I can do that with emails. So target segments are basically a way for us to create segments in our list of clients that we can target. That's where the name comes from, based on specific rules. So, for example, I have like probably dozens of automated campaigns that I set up that are just automatically running. And these are regularly reaching out to clients, and they're helping to increase our average ticket, increase our frequency of visit. One easy one that I think everybody should set up is having a segment that automatically targets people that haven't been in to get their haircut in, let's say, more than 6 weeks. Like, so if it's been 6 weeks or more since somebody's last visit and you have a barbershop, you should be reaching out to them, right? Because they're probably overdue for a haircut. Not everybody comes in that often, but our average frequency of visit ends up being like 6 or 7 weeks. So we know that if somebody goes beyond that, they probably forgot about their hair, right? On average, right? So we have automated things that go out to target people just that meet that criteria. And then we have other target segments for different things. Like we have a membership program, for example. So we have a automated sequence. So if somebody comes in more than once, or at least once a month, to get their haircut, like on average, then we know that they're a good candidate for our membership without even talking to them, because it's telling us like this person is on average coming in once a month. So we already know that they're a good candidate for our membership. So we automatically target them, right? We have automatic. We have a bunch of automations, but those are just a few things that you can do with having the ability to segment people in your list, right? So rather than blasting everybody at once, and some people might not even be interested in what it is that you have to share, you can really narrow it down so that it just hits that specific group of people, right? So, and this kind of touches on the next thing, which is marketing automations. So this a little bit different, but one of the coolest things about Zenati is that we can set up a rule we have to define what's slow, but basically we can say if the schedule is less than 70% booked, which I would consider slow, then the system's going to automatically start reaching out to people without us doing anything. right? It's going to automatically reach out to people too that haven't been in a while. So it knows that they're due. It's not going to reach out to people that just came in like yesterday, right? So it knows, it's smart, and it knows this person, this list of people hasn't been in a while. So if it's a slow day, meaning less than 70% booked, we're going to start automatically reaching out to help fill the schedule, right? And then we have, of course, automated stuff, like I mentioned earlier. Another cool thing about that's automated is that we have an abandoned cart feature. So if somebody actually starts the process of booking an appointment with us on the website, Zenati will automatically reach out to them if they don't finish the booking process. So that happens actually more frequently than you might think. But Zenati is smart, and they built a tool that can catch that, right? Because if somebody puts in their email and phone number, but if they don't finish booking the appointment, Zenati starts reaching out to them like, "Hey, we saw that you started this process." And I think like last month alone, this generated like hundreds and hundreds of dollars of extra revenue that otherwise would have maybe just been lost, right? So that's a really cool feature. Another thing is we have the ability to automatically build our Google reviews. So we have our Google tied to Zenati, and we did it in a way where basically it's called gatekeeping, right? So if somebody leaves us good feedback, meaning like 4 stars or higher, they automatically get redirected to Google to write a review, and a lot of people do, right? This is how we got almost 300 new Google reviews just last month alone, right? um, and if it's 3 stars or lower on the feedback, then it will actually create an issue in our system, which I don't even think is on here, but the ability to create issues is another feature that goes to the manager for that location. So one of my manager's responsibilities is to basically handle any issues that come up. And usually it's somebody that's not happy with their haircut, right? And if that's the case, then we reach out to them and we try to make it right. So, and our process is pretty simple. First, we reach out, try to get more details, and then we're automatically going to refund that client and then try and give them a credit on their next visit. So we call it a double your money back happiness guarantee. And we stand by that too. So if somebody comes to us and they're not happy with their haircut, we don't want to keep your money, right? Like we're gonna give it back, and we're gonna give you a credit. So as basically a way of saying, give us another chance, right? And let's make it right, you know? So either way, we're winning, right? So if clients are happy, then they get directed to Google, right, to write a review and let the world know. If they're not happy, it's going to let us know, and we're going to have a chance to fix it and maybe turn them into a long-time client. The way you respond to unhappy customers, I think, is underrated, right? Because you can learn something from any interaction, and even if we're not able to get them to come back and give us another chance, um, we can still learn from it, right? And this is what I tell my barbers when they're having a bad day, right? Because they got some bad feedback. I'm like, what can we learn from this, right? And maybe you did everything right as a barber, but there's always something I think that you can learn from it. You got to look inside when you get bad feedback because it doesn't help. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you grow as a barber to blame the clients. The ability to text clients, amazing. Like a lot of people nowadays would rather text than call. And when it comes to marketings too, we can not only can we send emails, but we can send text message blasts. So that's amazing. Um, Reporting, of course, this is actually was one of the main things that I wanted, and one of the large reasons for switching to Zenati was the ability to pull like custom reports. I mean, there's hundreds of reports in Zenati, and they're always adding more. But this is another one. Another one of the main reasons that I switched was we wanted the ability to do memberships. So memberships, I think, are the future of our business. Definitely. Oops. Let me go back here. It's definitely one of those things that I think if you have a barbershop, you need to consider having memberships because it's a no-brainer. Like the clients save money, the barbers make more money, get steady clients, and then you as the barbershop get recurring revenue, and you don't have to ever worry about losing that client again. And the way it works is it benefits you in the long term because you end up making more in the long term by keeping that client, right? So in the short term, You might actually make a little bit less when you start offering memberships, but in the long term, you're actually going to make a lot more, right? And we're actually making a lot more now than we've ever made in the past. And what's crazy is that some of the people that pay for memberships don't even use them. So other than gift cards, I don't know how that's possible other besides memberships. And you have to have a really good software, I think, to be able to do memberships because it's we tried to do it with Square. We tried to find some workarounds. It just wasn't built for it. It's not, you need it needs billing is memberships make the business really complicated. Like, so it's not all good, right? There's some bad things that come with memberships, like accounting is a nightmare, right? If you have like a limited memberships like we do where they can only come in a certain amount of times per month, that also becomes a nightmare, right? Because what if they came in and their membership wasn't billed yet or whatever. So it lengthens the checkout process. But of course, I think it's way worth it, right? So memberships, we've gone hard on that, and we're going to continue to go hard on memberships. And I think every barbershop owner should be considering memberships, but don't even think about offering memberships unless you have the right software for it, which is one of the reasons why I went with Zenoti. All right, the next thing is we have a wait list. We've had a wait list for years, actually, but one of the coolest things that they did recently was our wait list became automated. So we had the ability to add wait list clients to our wait list for a long time now. Recently, they added the ability for clients to add themselves to the wait list on our website. So if they go to book an appointment, it we don't have a spot available, they can add themselves to the wait list, but it wasn't automated. Now it's actually automated. So what's cool with the waitlist is that clients will actually get notified now if they're on the wait list when a spot opens up. We don't actually have to do anything now. We can just go about like living our lives, you know, and cutting hair. And the wait list is all automated now. So if you're a client watching this, because I saw somebody typed in the chat earlier that was a client, and you're trying to book an appointment, then and you don't see a spot available, then all you got to do is add yourself to the wait list. And if something opens up, this you will be one of the first people to get a text, right? It gives you like an hour to respond and basically claim that spot before it moves down to the next person on the list. And we might test that time. I don't know. An hour seems like a lot. I might shorten it, but that's the way it's currently set up as of right now when I'm recording this. So one of my favorite features, and they continue to make it better, like the automated part is amazing. That was actually the thing that I think Squire had a huge advantage over everybody else. It was just that one feature. So this, like I said earlier, sometimes it just comes down to one feature. And I almost went with Squire just for that one thing, but now Zenati has it. I'm like, okay, I'm totally fine with staying with Zenati. Of course, we have our own custom app now, which this is an add-on. It's not something that's included. Some of these things that I have on here are add-ons, like the marketing is an extra fee. Um, some, like a custom app is definitely not just included in Zenati, but the thing that was different between Zenati and Mevo, which Mevo 2, which is the other software I looked at, was that it was with Mevo, at least at the time, it was like outsourced, like whereas Zenati is actually the one that builds the app for you. And it's all integrated and everything. Now, that could be different now, but at the time, that was kind of a deal breaker for me because honestly, Mevo 2 is like an amazing software too. So some of these like little nuances, like they both have the ability to do custom apps, but with Zenati, it was built in-house, made to work with Zenati, and I could change things, and I do change on things on the app. Where with Mevo 2 at the time, it was it was all outsourced. It was through a third party, and I didn't really like that, right? This is the superpower right here, the ability to leave notes on clients, which I think almost every software allows us to do this. But I didn't realize until just really within the last year how powerful taking notes on clients were. Because one of the things that's becoming a little bit less mysterious, but has been a mystery for a while, is like what leads to client retention. And really, from what I've seen in my barbershop, notes. Like it sounds crazy, but like first you got to be able to do a good haircut and you got to be consistent and professional and everything, right? The basics of being a barber. But what separates the best barbers, the ones that have the highest retention really from everybody else? And I think it's this one thing right here, which is the ability to take notes on clients and use them, right? So Zanotti's really good at this. So the barbers that work for us, that work with me, have the highest that have the highest retention all take really good, really detailed notes on their clients and they use them. Right. So Zenati makes that super easy. A lot of softwares do that. So I don't know that it's like you have to, but just know if you have a system that allows you to take notes on clients and you're not using it, then your retention could probably be better, right? Because barbers that just leads to consistency, right? And it leads to the customer service, which I think are two factors that really influence whether somebody comes back to see you again or not. Because it almost automates customer service in a way because what we would might naturally do, it just helps make it a little bit easier. For example, like if you talked about like so and so is going to their wedding, this weekend, that's why he wanted a haircut. If you say that in their notes and you bring it up next time, like you don't have to remember now. You just have to remember to write the note and then you look at it before you take them back for their haircut. And then it automates the consistency. Whereas instead of doing the consultation and kind of relearning the haircut every single time, you just look at the notes. You're like, hey, so this is what we did last time. You want to do the same thing? And if they change it, then you update the notes. So it automates those two things, because the consistency of the haircut and the customer service. Like you don't have to remember. It gives Zenati is another thing that I love about it is this is going to be a little bit more advanced. If you have like managers, assistant managers, if role permissions really important, right? Because you don't want just everybody to have access to everything, right? So I can actually customize what they have access to based on their role, right? So if somebody's an assistant manager, they're going to have access to a little bit more than just a barber would. And if somebody has is a manager, then they're going to have access to even more things. And then I have access to everything, right? So you can actually choose based on the role what they can and can't see and what they can and can't change, right? So, for example, I know some of you guys are going to hate me for this, but I'm just talking to like actual business owners here, right? So, we have it set up in our system so that because our barbers, I think that's another thing that's not on here, but like all of our barbers have the app on their phone so they can see their appointments on their phone. But one of the things that they can't do is they can't see their clients' phone numbers on their phone, right? And they're all employees, just so you guys know, because I know I can feel some of you guys typing stuff right now, right? They're all employees, right? So we have that. They're not contractors. They're not booth renters. They're employees, right? So that's our information. That's the client's information that it is our responsibility to protect it. So we hide the phone number on the app, and then they can't see their schedule outside of unless they're on site, right? So it geolocates based on where their phone is. And if they're on site, the app starts to work now and they can actually see their schedule and they can clock in, right? But if they leave within a certain radius, the app doesn't work anymore, or at least some things will work, but they won't be able to see their schedule and they won't be able to clock in and out. The reason we started doing that, as far as the clocking in and out thing, is because I noticed back in the day when barbers could see their entire schedule, is that if they could see from home that they were having a slow day, they all of a sudden felt sick, right? And they couldn't come in to work. So we disabled that because it's very possible, and it happens all the time, where you might have a slow day in the beginning of the day, and then you come into the shop and all of a sudden it fills up, right? Or you have walk-ins or both. So people actually make more money from not being able to see their schedule from home, right? Because otherwise they might be tempted to not come into the shop at all that day and then not make any money at all, right? So I think it's actually, at least in our case, beneficial to make it so that the barbers can only see their schedule when they're there. Right. And again, that's the way I run my shop. My barbers are employees, and that's how we do it. Now, you can't do that with contractors, right? But my barbers are employees, so we have the ability to do that. This is another thing that I was not expecting, but since we do a lot, spend, thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing every single month, we have the ability to track how our ads are doing a lot more accurately. Because if you know anything about Meta or Facebook, it gives you a pixel, right? And we actually can put the pixel, and we did, inside of Zenati. So when somebody sees our Facebook ad or our Instagram ad and ends up booking an appointment, it gets tracked back to that ad. So we actually have a way better idea of how our ads are actually performing because of the software we use. So I love that, of course. Um, this is kind of a newer feature that we've been recently testing, but it's already proven to be very effective. Is that we have the ability now to charge deposits, but only for people that have had a recent no-show. So what that means is, like before, we used to have it set up to where either everybody had to pay a deposit or put a card on file, or nobody did. But we couldn't distinguish which was which, right? And I actually think that Squire does that too, which is another, it was another nice thing that Squire had, where you could like charge specific people deposits, but not everybody. Where now we can do that with Zenati, where if we can say it's like, hey, we're not no, you don't have to pay a deposit to book an appointment, but if you no show on your appointment, then the next time you go to book online, the system's gonna ask you to pay a deposit, right? And it's just temporary. It's just for like a 60-day period. But it's just to protect us, right? Because I love the ability to be able to allow clients to be able to book and manage their own appointments online. But some people can abuse it. But it's usually just the minority of people too. It's like, you know, 80% of your clients, this is not an issue. It's just the 20% that mess it up for everybody else. At least that's the way it was before. Now we have the ability to almost like punish just the people that are doing it, and everybody else is unaffected. So I love this feature, right? And then another cool feature that's relatively new is that we actually can prioritize specific barbers, in the sense that, like, if somebody wants to book specifically with me at, let's say, 5 o'clock today, and I have an appointment on at that time already, but that guy did not request me, the Zenati will move that appointment off my schedule because it prioritizes requests. So it will actually show that spot as available online as long as somebody else has that time available. So as long as somebody else, another barber, has a 5 o'clock spot open, it will move that appointment off my schedule and allow the person that's specifically requesting me to book that spot. So what I think the result of that's going to be is increased retention, right? Because people that are specifically wanting a certain barber will see more spots available. And this is something we were already doing anyways, right? If I saw somebody on my schedule that didn't specifically request me, I will move them off my schedule because I want to free up my schedule for people that want to see me. And also, like, if somebody's not specifically wanting to see me as a barber and an owner, but my other barbers are having a slow day, like, I don't feel right taking that barber, that client. I'm going to give my client to my barber because I got other shit to do, right? I'm happy to let them make money and cut hair, and I'll make content for you guys or something. So I love that feature. Another thing here is, of course, appointment confirmations and broadcast messages. So what does that mean? So when somebody books an appointment for us, our system will automatically reach out to them with reminders, but also ask them to confirm. And if somebody doesn't confirm their appointment, then we start sending out messages to help either remind them, like, hey, you didn't confirm your appointment? Can you please confirm that you're coming in? Or like they will cancel, right? Because people don't always like respond to the automated stuff. We're trying to train our clients to be better at that. But this is one of the things that helps prevent last minute cancellations and no-shows is if you ask your clients to confirm their appointments. So not just a reminder, but ask them to confirm. So we send a 1 week reminder, and then we send a 24-hour reminder and a 2 hour reminder. So the 24-hour and the 2 hour ones are the ones that ask them to confirm. And if they don't confirm, we can see that on our side because it'll turn the appointment, from orange to green if they confirm. But if they don't confirm, then we send out a broadcast, which is a newer feature, which we can hit everybody on the calendar at once that hasn't confirmed. But back in the day, we actually used to have to text people one by one, where now we can actually just send one message and it automatically goes out to all the people that haven't confirmed. Really, really powerful. This helps prevent last minute cancellations and no shows. I don't think there's any like surprise like why in the last few months our cancellation and no show rate has gone down, because we've gotten better at reminders and confirmations, and now we're using broadcast messages as one last kind of ditch effort to help reschedule people if they can't make it, and rather than just hoping that they show up, right? And the last thing that I just added, I think the other day, was an appointment log. So I mean, I don't know that this is like super helpful. It's just something that I use every now and then, but we can basically see everything that's changed with an appointment. um because back in the day, we used to have this issue with barbers like moving appointments from other barber schedules to their schedule. They weren't supposed to do that, but sometimes it happened. But with the appointment log, we can actually see everything that's happened with that appointment. So we can actually see like, so this appointment was originally booked with this person, but then it got moved to this person, and it can't be edited. Like it's set in stone. So it became basically impossible to mess with appointments because of that appointment log. So really small little detail that I really, really like about Zenati. So again, like I don't get paid to talk about Zenati. You guys can put this to the test. I don't I don't have any sort of affiliate relationship with them. This is literally what I use. And yeah, I think it's the best software on the market right now. Um, I haven't talked to everybody, but I don't plan on going anywhere else. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, I mean, it's definitely not the cheapest software either, right? It's probably, in fact, a lot more expensive, but I think it's important to think about it in terms of return on investment, not about the cost, right? Because I probably pay a lot more for software than anybody else, but I also make a higher return on investment, I think, than a lot of other people. So don't just look for the cheapest. I didn't even find out what the cost of Zenati was until I signed up, right? So just keep that in mind. So that's why I use what I use software wise. Hopefully you found that helpful. All right. So let me answer some questions here and then I'll let you guys go. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I'll answer our questions for a few minutes and then I'll head out. All right. Um, yes, I love the abandoned cart feature too. It's amazing. What system do I use? I'm in a suite inside a barbershop. I use Zenati. But if you're just using a suite, I would probably look. I don't know that Zenati does individual, um, like works with individuals, but you may want to look into Vagaro or I don't know about Booksy, but you want to, I think, at least track retention, right? So you go back and watch the video that I'll post this. I'll chop it out and post that as a separate YouTube video. But so when you're watching the recording of this, you try to find a software that at least tracks retention. I think that's the most important aspect of our business. If you don't know what your retention is, then I don't know that you can really know how you're doing as a barber because like, how do you know if clients are coming back or not? um, or how many of them are coming back, right? So I would look into a system that tracked retention at the very least if you're an individual barber. Um, do they tip after the visit with the membership? Yes, they usually do. So the haircut is covered by the membership credit, and so that makes the balance zero. So that's probably one of the things that I hate about the way it's currently set up. Like it's not perfect. You're not going to find a software that's perfect. There's going to be flaws with every system out there. It's just a matter of like, which flaws are you willing to deal with is really the question, right? And this is one of the flaws in our system. We have to ask if they want to leave a tip, and then if they do, we have to type it in. So it gets kind of awkward, right? Some if they want to leave a credit card tip, at least. Now, if they want to leave a cash tip, then that's fine. We don't have to ask about that. But if somebody comes in and they have a membership, then they don't have to pay for anything. But if they want to leave a credit card tip, they can't tip on zero. So we have to ask and then we have to type it in. So that's a little awkward. I hate that that's the case, but again, it's just trade-offs, right? And that's one thing that I'm willing to live with, which I'm very confident now that Zenati will fix that and any other issues that could potentially come up. It just keeps getting better too. That's the nice thing about software. Just generally it gets better over time. So that is our call for today. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. Um, if you made it this far in the video, thank you. And make sure to subscribe. And there is a link in my bio, wherever you're watching this, to my free barber group. It's called the Barber Mastermind. 100% free to be inside that. There's another group if you want more help running your barbershop, I have another group called the Barbershop Owner Mastermind. The link to that is also in my bio. So I'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys have a good one.